2 weeks ago. We were all working out here. There was at least 20 guys, and we just started noticing things were moved.
Really?
That looks like a Bigfoot.
Insane.
Gone.
From wandering through some of the most remote forests that could be found in the continent of North America, to having an encounter of the strangest kind with one of the most frightening creatures out there in the middle of nowhere, here is how Dr. Mireya Mayor believed that she finally found Bigfoot. Wild statement, right? For many decades now, many have been doing all they can to track down Bigfoot, the legendary bipedal cryptid that is rumored to wander around some of the forests found in the continent of North America. The reason many have dedicated a ton of resources to this cause is that we aren't even sure if this creature is real. For many years, many of those who believe that this creature is real have relied on the dubious accounts of those who claim they have run into the legendary cryptid at some point in time, or the photos or videos that similar people have emerged with from these remote woods. That said, this hasn't been enough to convince the skeptics that this creature is really out there making these remote woods their home. With that in mind, people like Dr. Mireya Mayor, the highly respected primatologist, along with the rest of the Expedition Bigfoot team, have dedicated their lives to the cause. With her level of experience as the first National Geographic female correspondent who has traveled to the most remote forests in the world, along with other areas of expertise, there is every chance that she, along with the rest of the members of Expedition Bigfoot team, may very well be the ones who succeed where many have failed when it comes to proving that Bigfoot really exists and is truly out there. Expedition Bigfoot out on an expedition to find Bigfoot. As many of us may have accepted at this point in time, the search for the fabled bipedal ape-like mammoth of a creature is easier said than done. Just look at the time that Dr. Mireya Mayor and the rest of her team went into one of these remote woods to follow a lead in order to put their search for Bigfoot to an end once and for all. This was already a difficult enough task. The humidity in the area was enough to suffocate even the fittest person out there. As bad as the weather was, it didn't seem to be as bad as the eerie silence that seemed to envelope the woods. The good doctor and the rest of the team that was out there just couldn't shake the feeling of unease as they realized that they could not hear any of the usual noises that could be associated with these neck-of-the-woods. Not one chirp of a cricket, the hoot of an owl, or the howl of a wolf could be heard. As they came to realize how disturbing this silence was, they soon understood that this was because of something even more troubling. Something out there was definitely watching them. Just as Dr. Mireya Mayor and the team came to a halt to come to terms with the unnerving silence, their hearts began to race once they heard the disturbing sound of this strange knock that seemed to come out of nowhere. The knocking sound seemed to come from all over the place, and as such, you could see how this left the team in a state of fear and nervousness. What could be responsible for this strange knocking sound? As much as Dr. Mireya Mayor was also in a state of unease, her years of experience gathered from the years studying primates from all over the world gave her a good idea of what she was dealing with. She was well aware that when gorillas and chimpanzees were in the wild, they usually communicated with knocks similar to those which she and her team were hearing while they were in these woods. Usually, this would have helped Dr. Mayor and her team relax, but they remembered one thing. They were not in Africa where you could run into such primates in the wild. No, they were in North America, and such primates are not known to roam around in the woods there. As such, she came to believe that there was every chance that they were within proximity of the legendary cryptid. With that in mind, Dr. Mireya knew that she had to jump to action. Hoping to get more details about what they could be dealing with, she implored the thermal drone operator to launch their small machine so that they could use it to scan the dark woods around them. With any luck, they could even pick up the heat signals of the fabled hominid creature before it wandered too far off. Within moments, the team picked up the heat signals of creatures such as deers, raccoons, and other woodland creatures. Just as things started to look normal, everyone gasped when they looked at the monitor because they had just picked up the heat signal of what looked to be a massive, upright figure that was making its way through the trees in such an alarming way that the viewers couldn't believe what they had just seen. Despite the size of the creature, it moved with a speed and agility that needed to be seen to be believed. Somehow, despite such a rapid pace of movement, the thermal camera was able to focus on the creature in such a way that the observers could finally notice more of its details. They all gawked in awe as they took in the tall figure and its broad shoulders. They were also astounded by its legs, which seemed to be bigger and more imposing than any humans or primates that they had ever laid their eyes on.
Looking in my direction, I repeat, there are multiple huge heat signatures in front of me.
As much as they were left in a state of shock due to what they were witnessing, the surprising experience came to an end because all of a sudden, it disappeared out of plain sight. What an extraordinary experience. Hoping to learn some more information about what they had just experienced, the team found their way to the location of the strange heat signal. It was only a matter of time before they experienced that same shock and excitement because they came across a set of massive footprints in the mud. Coming in stunning size of 17 inches, these footprints were clearly larger than any footprints they had ever seen in their lives. Even Shaq couldn't leave footprints that were so large. Fascinated, Dr. Mireya Mayor had to feel them for herself. Sure, these footprints belonged to some sort of primate, but she just couldn't claim that they belonged to any known species of primate, despite spending many years of her life studying them. Well, with any luck, they would get the answers they desperately desired. For now, they figured the only way they could get such answers was for them to gather all the evidence they could from this location. As such, they did all they could to collect all the DNA samples they could find in the area. This saw them collect some of the hair samples they found in the branches close by. Maybe this would give them the massive win they needed when it came to the search for the legendary cryptid that is Bigfoot. Well, it's fair to say that they did get some answers after analyzing the hair samples that they picked up when they were in those dark, humid woods. However, not only would these answers not be conclusive enough to give them the answers they so desperately wanted, it would actually send shivers down their spines as they came to terms with what they had on their hands. This is because the set analysis of the hairs revealed that they contained primate DNA. Despite this, the DNA could not be attributed to any known primates. Pretty weird stuff if you ask us. As strange as these answers were, it somehow added more credence to the notion that Bigfoot was really out there. If anything, the answers may haunt Dr. Mireya Mayor and the rest of her team, because this could mean that they may have been within proximity of the legendary cryptid.
You hear that? You hear that?
Is that Ronnie?
It's gotta be.
What a strange situation. Indeed, it could be a case of so close yet so far. This must have been super frustrating, because anyone who knew the good doctor would know that she wasn't one to chase after myths or speculations. As a scientist, it seemed as though she only dealt with cold, hard facts. Well, she would just have to follow the lead of people like the Native Americans who had called such a place home many centuries ago. Even back then, these people have gone on record as they spoke about a massive hidden being that wandered around the woods in the area. Considered to be a guardian of the land that kept to the shadows, the story of this creature has been passed down from generation to generation, so much so that it is still prevalent till this very day. Sure, some people may want to reduce them to the realm of legend or folklore, but people like Dr. Mireya Mayor know better than to ignore the details in these stories. After all, there is every chance that such stories could eventually lead the Expedition Bigfoot team to the conclusive proof they need to establish that Bigfoot is real and is out there. That said, we can all say that the problem with the establishment of the existence of Bigfoot has always been the proof. Despite all the stories that we mentioned earlier, or the massive footprints or hair samples that may have been picked up over the course of time, it always seems as though something is missing when it comes to proving that Bigfoot is real. Indeed, maybe that thing is the actual manifestation of this fabled creature in a way that cannot be dismissed. Maybe it is also the pranks and hoaxes that have served to be a hindrance when it comes to establishing the existence of this creature. All in all, for one reason or the other, many have dismissed that a creature such as Bigfoot is truly out there. As such, for now, it is just too difficult to separate fact from fiction, and that is no good when it comes to proving that Bigfoot is real. Luckily enough, Dr. Mayor is only keen to deal with the facts of the case, even if she has to cut through all the elaborate myths and legends surrounding the existence of Bigfoot. As such, she knew that if she was going to make any headway, she would need to work according to the laws of science. For too long, she had witnessed many who claimed to have the proof that Bigfoot was real, but were dismissed as pranksters, hoaxers, or conspiracy theorists. Again, you cannot blame them because there have just been too many people who thought that they could pull fast ones on us. No, she was going to find that real, undeniable proof that Bigfoot was real. No, they will not be making use of any of those blurry photos or videos that we spoke of a while back, nor would she be relying on the uncorroborated accounts of those who claim to have experienced a run-in with the legendary creature. She was going to make use of the best that technology had to offer so that she could capture clear photos and videos in a bid to record any encounter that she would be lucky enough to get if she ever encountered Bigfoot. This desire to track Bigfoot down would be no easy task at all. Again, they would have to go into the woods that are filled with an unbelievable amount of trees. Let's not forget about the rugged mountains that the legendary creature is believed to blend into, as it just seems to be the perfect place for it to evade the rest of the known world. This didn't seem to be a huge task for Dr. Mayor. After all, she had spent a good chunk of her professional career exploring some of the most remote forests in the world, and as such, this didn't seem to be anything new to her. That said, there was just something about this place they were exploring at the moment. Something different. Something rather disturbing. Perhaps looking to take her mind off the unsettling nature of the woods, she turned her mind to thinking about what Bigfoot may look like when she finally ran into it. This took her mind to all the stories she had heard in regard to the mysterious hominid. She remembered how it was described as being a tall creature, something that towered any human in known history. She also remembered that it was also described as a creature that was covered in fur and weighed over 1,000 pounds. What was interesting about such a massive creature was that it also seemed to move much faster than it looked. What was perhaps even more interesting about this strange primate was that its eyes, the eyes hiding behind the high ridge of its brow, seemed to exhibit a level of intelligence and sentience that may not be found in any other wild animal. This seemed to rejuvenate any excitement in finding this creature, because before long, Dr. Mayor and her team started mapping out all the hot spots they could find in the area. They decided to focus on the places that many reported as having run-ins with the legendary creature. With that in mind, they moved with care, hoping to pick up anything that stood out, anything that was out of the ordinary. Before long, they saw that they were looking out for any footprints that seemed to be larger than anything they had seen, or any footprints that seemed to belong to anything that they were unfamiliar with. They also seemed to look out for any structures that may have been put together out there in the wild. Maybe such a structure could have been put together by the legendary creature. With that in mind, they also made sure that they took note of a key part of their search. They knew that their best chance of finding anything that was out of the ordinary was at night. Turns out that Bigfoot was something of a nocturnal creature, and as such, their best chance of success was unfortunately not going to be observed during the day. With that in mind, the team got moving with their thermal imaging cameras and night vision goggles once the sun went down. With their senses on high alert, they moved with caution as they were certain that something was watching out for them from the cover provided to them by the thick bushes and the darkness of the night. Despite such a challenge, Dr. Mayor just couldn't shake off the feeling that she may actually be on the verge of success. That said, she knew that caution was the order of the day, because even the most subtle of footsteps could give their position away, and this could very well make it even more difficult to catch the legendary cryptid unaware. With that in mind, they took all the care they could as they scanned the forest for what proved to be hours. Exhausted, they were just about to give up on their search for the mysterious creature when something popped up on their monitor. Excited, the team jumped to attention when they noticed the heat signature of something that seemed to be hiding behind the thick bushes surrounding them. Could this be the creature that they had just spent hours looking for? Despite such excitement, the team moved with caution so that they could get a clearer view of what their equipment had just detected. This seemed to work because the shape seemed to remain still, as though it had not picked their presence up. That said, it could have also been monitoring them as it got closer. Whatever the case may be, the team had enough time to notice that the creature had broad shoulders, an immense frame, and also what appeared to be glowing eyes. As you can imagine, this caused a ton of excitement. That said, it also seems to cause a bit of fear. After all, this time, they were not just talking about blurry photographs or unclear videos. This time, They may be on the verge of approaching the real deal in its natural environment, and this may not be the safest thing to do despite being a groundbreaking moment for all them. As they pondered if this was really the legendary creature that they had been searching for, one could see that the tension was palpable. Just as they were zoning in on their target, the team was alarmed when this guttural noise suddenly ripped through the silence of the night. The sound proved to be so powerful, it felt more like a presence that threatened to obliterate them from the realm of existence. Despite this, Dr. Mayor and her team somehow found the gumption to press forward. Sure, they had to ignore that all the natural noises such as the chirping of crickets and the hoots of owls had suddenly come to an end. To make matters worse, this deep, resonant sound shook the entire team to their core. This was not the sound of some wolf howling or some bear growling. This was the sound of something even more disturbing. Frightful of what they had just heard, the team froze on the spot. Looking for answers, the team scanned the area with their camera. That is when they picked up the heat signal of something that was high above them on one of the trees nearby. As you can imagine, the team was once again frightened when they realized that whatever was looking at them from the top was glaring at them with its red eyes. This was troubling for them because if this was Bigfoot, it wasn't acting like the shy creature that had become the stuff of legend of the years. No, this creature was even somewhat confrontational in its approach, and this was much more frightening. To make matters worse, this creature seemed to be agitated by them because it released this low yet troubling growl from up above. As you can tell, everything within pretty much told them to flee for their lives, but somehow they maintained their resolve. Maybe it was because they had already come so far in their mission, but somehow they were able to maintain their position underneath the unnerving creature. They knew that this was the best chance to get any evidence of the legendary creature, and they weren't going to miss out on this opportunity. No way. As tense as the moment was, the team was suddenly shaken back to attention when they heard a branch snap. Before they could figure anything disturbed by the sound of that unnerving low growl. This sound was so layered and unnatural that there was no way for them to shake off the fear it was creating within them. The team tried all they could to record the creature that was hovering above them, but all of a sudden, it disappeared. With one swift movement, it had disappeared out of plain sight, almost as if it was never even there to begin with. It was all too surreal, all too fantastic for it to have been something they had experienced, but even without whatever was recorded with their thermal imaging camera, they all knew that the fear they all felt was real. This was something they would never forget. That said, they were still left to wonder if they had really just had an encounter with the real deal. Had they actually just put their lives in danger just to come so close to the legendary cryptid? The destruction of a branch by something that was way more powerful than them to the discovery of a massive set of footprints in the ground told them that this must have been the case, but as they did not see anything conclusive with their eyes, they weren't so sure. So for now, despite the uncertainty, they felt that they were drawing ever closer to the legendary creature that is Bigfoot. From wandering through some of the most remote forests that could be found in the continent of North America, to having an encounter of the strangest kind with one of the most frightening creatures out there in the middle of nowhere, here is how Dr. Mireya Mayor believed that she finally found Bigfoot.